Welcome to Gehenna Gaming, where we tell dark stories and support inclusivity in gaming. I'm Kyran, your storyteller for the evening, and welcome to the 6th episode of Bleeding Kansas, our Vampire the Masquerade chronicle based on a Storyteller's Vault chronicle of the same name. You can find a link to that in the chat. This is your weekly reminder that this is a horror game intended for an adult audience that will explore many dark and disturbing themes. So if you feel overwhelmed or seriously uncomfortable, be sure to take a break and come back when you feel up to it. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Die Hard Dice, 1985 Games, and Session Zero Clothing. You can use code Gehenna at checkout at any of those companies to get 10% off your purchase. Now, let's meet our vampires for the evening.
Hi guys, I'm Vin at VinVoxVA, and I'll be playing Gideon, your favorite Thin Blood.
Hey y'all, my name's C. I use they them pronouns, and tonight I'm playing Somber, who also uses they them pronouns. Your favorite amnesiatic daddy diablerist caitiff.
You're muted.
Hey, I'm Lynn, she, they, and I'm playing M. She, her, the traitorous. Could go either way. Feelings are complicated. Bruja. She, her.
And I'm Justice, and I'm playing the ambitious Luther Vergoni Ventru, who is attempting to lead this gaggle towards a higher place.
Only good things can come of this, of course. Well, with our fantastic bloodsuckers introduced, let's tell a vampire story. Our coterie has had a very busy night. After avoiding death extremely narrowly several times, they had a front row seat to the grisly execution of several illegitimate childer by Kansas City's powerful sheriff, Christoph von Reissel. And while they've tried to use the situation to their advantage, allies are hard to come by, and their resources are stretched thin. It remains to be seen whether their various gambles will pay off. Because with Kansas City on high alert, the river choked with bodies, and intrigue at its height, any wrong move could mean the final death. Our coterie has divided itself tonight. There are only a few precious hours left before the sun rises, and you all have to return to your coffins, holes in the ground, luxurious beds with blacked out windows, etc. But those hours could mean the difference between ascendancy and death. So, let's begin with Somber. You were going off with a new friend that you've made, or potential friend, Issa, the Tremere Primogen of this fine city. As she leads you down the stairwell, she says, "So you're looking to get someone out of your head. How did they get there exactly? I mean, I already took a look at your aura. Clearly you do this frequently, but I've come to understand that every diablerie is slightly different."
Of course, it's a work of art, darling. Well, it's interesting, this one in particular wasn't actually my own work. You can see I'm also a bit of a collector. You understand?
I suppose I have to say, butterfly collecting might have been a slightly more safe hobby to take up.
I like bats better.
Evidently. I'm still weighing whether or not I should have just turned you in and had you executed, but you intrigue me.
Considering we've gotten this far, I think I'm doing pretty well.
Well, as she makes several more turns through the underground tunnels, eventually you arrive at a door. She takes out a knife and scratches along her palm and rubs it across this blank door. Several runes burst into life, and the door swings open without aid of any kind of visible hinge or doorknob. She says, "Don't mind the blood magic."
Don't I? You know, most people just ask if they can go in. Haven't you ever heard of the old traditions?
She smirks, and she says, "I'm fairly young for a kindred, but I'm sure you'll acknowledge I've gotten a lot done in that time." And she nods towards the interior of the room that just opened, and you see that there is a man there hanging by his wrists from the ceiling, and his entire chest cavity is exposed. Several of his intestines are just kind of hanging out, and he has a kind of glazed look on his face.
Oh, you didn't tell me you were taking me out to dinner.
She says, "Oh, you don't want to have a sip of this one. The things I've pumped him full of. You wouldn't be able to come down for a couple weeks."
Maybe I don't want to.
I'm liking you more and more by the second. She makes her way over. She says, "Wake up, Roger. Wake up. You need to be awake for this one." She pats the side of his face. He says, he stares at her, and she's like, "All right, I need 5 sustained seconds of terror. Okay, you can go back to sleep." And he goes back to sleep as if someone just clicked the switch off.
Somber watches all of this with a kind of intense curiosity. Like, they are just absolutely fixated on this sparkly new toy in front of them, and they're very interested. Also, like, denoting what else is in here. You know, are there any other exits? Are there any other people? Are there any other things that used to be people? That kind of thing.
Give me a wits plus awareness roll.
Me, like, where awareness? Could I read? What if I read? Okay. Let's see. Oop. 2 successes.
2 successes. You can't really make heads or tails of a lot of the things in here. There are a variety of different beakers and vials, a lot of them stoppered. Not all of them stoppered with corks. Some of them seem to be stoppered with eyeballs that have been dipped in amber. There are a lot of different bubbling experiments going on at various different tables. There is one door leading outward. Much like the one you just came in through, it doesn't seem to have a doorknob. Probably only responds to approved blood. Most of the vials are only marked with various different kinds of language that you can't read. In fact, you're not even 100% sure that it is language. In fact, the only one that's labeled in English is a single vial that's labeled Ball-Crushing Terror. That is on one of the shelves near the back of the room.
Somber reads it, laughs. I like your taste.
She says, "I've had to work very hard to assemble the collection. But in the several years that I've been in my position, I've made use of the resources that being the Prince's Seneschal grants me. Now, just a moment." She makes her way over to the man that's hanging there, runs her finger down his ribcage, and she just kind of mutters under her breath, "Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, and now I have your rib." Rips it out of the ribcage and walks over to a table and begins grinding it into a powder. All right. Well, this is the main ingredient. Now, I'm only going to explain this ritual once, so you're paying attention, aren't you?
Absolutely. I love song and dance.
And she leans forward and she says, in order to make this work, to transfer the consciousness you've got in your brain to another body, you need the ground bone dust of someone who is experiencing abject terror, extracted while imparting folk wisdom. That's what the nursery rhyme was for. Now, you have to put this in the mouth of whoever it is that you're going to be repurposing the body of. You'll need to stake them with a wooden stake that's been made from a hangman's tree, which I have. She walks over to a chest here. She pulls out a blackened stake that she places on it. And you will have to wrap their head in the livery of a significant lord. Now, in the modern era, some Beyonce merch or maybe a Chiefs jersey should do the trick. Then you have to place them in a river that is flowing east or west, no north or south. Remember that. And then you put your fangs into the stake, and the magic should take care of the rest.
So you're telling me that by biting this stick like a cute little dog, I can transfer the consciousness of my good friend here into someone else's body? How charming.
Fetch. She tosses the stake at you.
Somber catches it good-naturedly, twirls it around in their fingers. You do like all of these little ingredients, don't you? Blood? Things of that nature?
It's necessary for the work that I do. My master imparted many secrets of my clan to me before he met the final death.
Interesting. Perhaps this will pique your curiosity? And Somber goes into their inner breast pocket and pulls out the vial of blood that Gideon gave them from Jessica and kind of tosses it back to her.
Is this something you want identified?
I'm interested in it.
Well, it's a relatively simple procedure. Give me a Wits plus Insight roll.
Somber, not the most insightful, but 3 successes.
Not bad. For the barest hint of a second, when that blood touches her tongue, you see her confident facade crack a little bit. Almost like she's been caught with something. But she very quickly resolves her face. And she says, interesting taste. It's been denatured, maybe with sorcery. I can't identify it. I might have to spend a little more time with it. If you want to leave it with me, I'd be happy to.
Oh, unfortunately, I am going to have to take it with me. I have a date later tonight.
I don't suppose you'd be willing to part with it for the right price.
Well, considering that you haven't actually given me the task that I ought to complete as a favor to you, perhaps we have a few more bargaining chips on the table now, don't we?
Well, I have a very specific task in mind. Let me tell you what it is, and then we can discuss the fate of the vial. And negotiating tip. Next time you want to make sure you get something back, just give a drop of the blood instead of the whole vial.
A negotiating tip for you, darling. Don't think that you could ever take something from me.
Touché. My task for you is simple. Well, it should be simple. I want you and your coterie to go into Kansas City, Kansas, cross the river. The prince has made it very specific, and the prince has made a very specific decree, and the sheriff is enforcing it that no one is supposed to go over there. But the sheriff is also preventing us from finding out what's actually going on. I don't like knowing not knowing what's going on. So I want you to go over there, figure out the truth of why we saw over 30 bodies in the river tonight, and come back and make a full report to the court publicly.
You have chosen the right kindred for the job, haven't you? I love to cause problems.
That is exactly what I'm hoping for.
Are you really sure you want to hear the truth, though? It's rather grisly.
I'm extremely sure that I want to hear the truth. I want everyone to know exactly what's going on the other side of that river.
So do I. I think it would be mutually beneficial for everyone involved, including those poor little kindred that keep getting examples made of them.
Spectacular. Well, now that's out of the way, what do you want for the vial?
I haven't decided yet. See, the thing is that I'm rather curious about what happens when that thing touches my tongue. And I do have quite a lot of questions about the very nature of being, the very nature of my being. And considering you seem to know so much about it all, perhaps you could help me.
You want to know more about yourself?
I do. I find myself in a rather odd situation of being rather lost at sea in my own mind, one could say.
Very well. There are certain experiments that I can perform. What specifically do you want to know?
There's somebody creeping around my memory. I don't think they're mine in the same way the others are. But there's someone creeping around in there that I need to know about. I don't know who they are yet.
I specialize in blood magic. Identifying a consciousness inside of you is going to be a little bit more complex.
Do you want the vial or not?
I said complex, not impossible.
That's the spirit.
However, it would require you to put yourself in a position that I'm not sure you trust me enough to put yourself in.
Darling, you only need to ask what position.
Your form has an innate defense mechanism built into it. It will prevent me from accessing your thoughts unless you are fully asleep during the process. Then I can go in there and tinker around. It's not something we'll be able to do tonight, but you can lay yourself out on my table as soon as you've completed the task for me, and I'll be more than happy to make an inspection if you give me the vial now. I'll give you my marker so that you know I won't go back on the deal.
Now, this is starting to sound like something I'm interested in. Good. I'd be happy to strike an accord.
Excellent. She'll reach up and yank another rib out of his chest. Here's my marker. And she'll extend it towards you.
Somber takes this man's entire rib, twirls it around in their fingers, sticks it in their back, like in the back pocket of their pants, so it's still sticking out a little bit. They smile. Pleasure doing business with you.
I certainly hope so. And with that, we'll turn our attention to Gideon, who has their own schemes in motion tonight. So, Gideon, you had struck a bit of a deal with Nana Eileen, the Nosferatu primogen. She brings you outside of the transit authority where this meeting is being held. However, once you exit out of it, you see that she no longer looks like an elderly woman covered in pustules. She just looks like a normal elderly woman, hunched over in a suspicious-looking black cloak, probably can't. Nobody would be able to identify that it was rat fur unless they got very, very close. And she leads you towards a limousine that's waiting, along with several basically a motorcycle honor guard that several other, you presume, Nosferatu have already mounted up on. So, the docks is where we're going, is it?
Yes, that is correct.
Once I lay my eyes on the merchandise, I'll be happy to fulfill that minor boon that you requested. She settles into the back.
And she joins her.
Excellent. So, as you turn away and make your way out of the central part of Kansas City towards the river, she says, "Now, my clan has been teasing out secrets in this city for quite some time. And I hope you know that this isn't the first time I've heard of you."
I'm sure I have quite the reputation.
Indeed. The way your sire treated you, I have to say it's not something that ever would have been allowed in my family.
You learn. It's fine. What can be said?
Do you harbor any ill will towards the man?
Possibly. I'm going to keep that one to myself. Is that fair?
Smart move, considering who you're talking to. Here we are. She opens the door and you see the boss Callahan in front of you. You also see that the entire city, which you can see fairly effectively from this vantage point, is alight with police sirens and flashing lights, as well as helicopters that are flying up and down on either side of the river. It's like someone kicked an anthill, all right.
Fantastic.
So, where can we find the merchandise?
So above game, is there any back entrance or employee entrance I would know about? Or do we have to go straight in?
I'd say you probably know about just about every secret entrance to the Boss Callahan there is. So if you want to go directly onto the lower decks, I'm sure that there is a way to do that.
Okay, then that's exactly what I want to do.
All right. You make your way down, and when you arrive at the crate, you see a familiar face already standing there. It's Wheeler, the chief of security, who turns to look at you, and she says, "I had hoped that you'd be halfway to St. Louis by now."
Whether I'm going to say this as plainly as possible, what the hell?
I'm responsible for the security on board the ship. This is currently the greatest risk to the ship, so I'm staying with it.
That is very kind of you. But I will say that the Baron and Oliver are in my luggage and not in that crate.
She doesn't know that.
Okay. Fantastic. I applaud you, of course. I just need to grab my things. So if you would like to watch that crate till Kingdom Come, it is upon you.
You can be assured that it won't go out of my sight. She resumes her vigil over the crate, keeping an eye on you the entire time.
All right. Gideon's going to grab their stuff and go to their quarters on the boat.
All right. Nana Eileen and two of her motorcycle helmeted bodyguards will follow you up there. Wheeler watching you the entire way, muttering into her cufflink, evidently orders for the rest of the security forces. But they would never be so presumptuous as to enter your room. So once you shut that door, you do have privacy.
Perfect. And we're just going to casually zip open their bags for those 2 corpses.
Okay, and Eileen leans over. Aye, that's Tobias, all right. And wrapped up all purty-like. I applaud you. You've done something that the entire city of Lawrence hasn't been able to do for 2 centuries.
I do my best.
And who's the little one in the corner there?
He called himself Oliver. I assume he's his grandchild.
Interesting. Well, you've delivered. My child there will ensure that this is safely transported off the ship. So, she leans back. Now let's get to that minor boon. You wanted unsavory information on Joseph Crowley. Is that right?
Yes.
Any particular flavor, or just the most interesting dirt I've dug up?
Of course, I want the worst.
Very well. Turns out it might have some direct relevance to what happened tonight. She leans forward. Who's about the last kindred that you'd expect a primogen of the Ventru clan to be passing their time with?
Humor me.
A La Sombra. A La Sombra representative to the court, Mr. Alexios. He isn't a full primogen yet, certainly, but he still exerts a good amount of influence. He and Mr. Crowley, and the Tremere primogen, Isabel Rojas, I don't know if you made her acquaintance, have been engaging in some shady activities recently. Specifically on the other side of the river. Now, I didn't know what to make of it until tonight, but the 3 of them have been making regular trips across the river to the Kansas side of Kansas City when I had no cause to be doing so. Always at roughly the same time. Never immediately together, mind you. They each used a different way, always in a disguise, but my clan can see through such things. Always around the same time, all 3 of them would make their way across the bridges. And always around the same time, they'd all emerge. Once again, entirely different ways of returning, entirely different disguises. But nonetheless, their timetables lined up. Now what in the world would a Tremere primogen, a Ventru primogen, and a La Sombra representative be doing on the other side of the river with that frequency? It isn't exactly a secret that the beating heart of Kansas City is on this side of the river. So why would they stoop to that low?
I guess we'll have to find out.
Indeed. Normally, I don't like to cause trouble for my fellow primogen. We try to be helpful whatever we can, for the right price. But in this situation, you've provided me with a resource. Now I've given you one. Those 3 definitely didn't want anyone to know they were going over there, and yet they did. And they certainly don't want anyone to know they're coordinating, and yet they almost certainly are. That's about the best I can give you.
Well, it's greatly appreciated, Primogen. Would you require an escort off the boat?
No. My child are more than capable of keeping me safe, even in these uncertain nights. I do hope you'll make your way over to Kansas City North at some point. You'd be more than welcome in the Warrens.
That's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And don't think I've forgotten that I still owe you a major boon. You can turn that in whenever you like. Let me give you a marker. She'll reach in and yank out one of Tobias's very long fangs and hand it to you.
And he takes it. Just keeps it in his palm.
She gives you a nod, and she looks at the rest of her childer, and she says, box him up, bring him to the car, and let's call in another 20 of your siblings to make sure we get to Kansas City North without being disturbed. She turns on her heel and makes her way out.
And I think with the time that we have left in the night, Gideon's just going to stay in his room.
All right, Gideon greets the day sleep, probably very gratefully considering all of the stuff you've gone through in this one night. So, with only a little bit left in the evening, we turn our attention to M and Luther, who are still at the at court. And I believe the two of you were just about to reconnect the last time we saw you, to give each other a quick update on what you had done and what your plans were. So, I invite you to do so.
Well, did you kick up any nests?
Oh, no. Just making sure that my free agency was known. How about you? Ooh.
Well, I certainly didn't toe the line as well as I should have, most likely. But I'm not dead, so the game is still afoot.
Yes. This place. You sure you want to be part of this?
Oh, absolutely. Can't you just feel the tension in this room?
Oh, yes, I can feel the rancid vibes here.
It is a literal shark den.
Yes, I've noticed everybody wants their little plaything, their little tool they can use against everyone else.
So what can we use? We are the underdogs here, and yet I feel that we should not be.
That's why I like you. You have big eyes. And I am curious exactly who do you think
Well,
is fair game here?
I don't like Mr. Crowley. Call it a personal vendetta, if you will. But he also has dangled himself out there in such a way that he might be ripe for the picking. And I believe this sheriff has gained quite a few enemies with his crusade against the Kindred.
Yes, I don't think there are many people that don't seem to like the amount of that show some power. It's got a bit of a hold here, seems like.
Yes, and individual power should be taken into account, but no individual can be too powerful if the court turns against them.
Judging by the
Perhaps
faces, it's going to take
if
some
knowledge
convincing, or
is revealed. We know what happened this evening, regardless what the sheriff wants to keep under wraps.
yes.
But, of course, we don't want to be the ones to tell anyone. But perhaps a willing, pliable mind could be persuaded. What did you find out from your side of the tracks?
Well, certainly that no one is willing to make any moves at all with the way things are right now. Whether it be probably the sheriff. Things are just going to stay like this with everybody having this little Cold War happening, making their little plans. Nothing's going to happen unless something is pushed.
Well, perhaps we can be the ones to push that little red button and just drop a nuke into their Cold
Yes.
War.
Yes, well, speaking of our own backyard, have some information that there is something unusual happening back home.
Back home
In
on
the
the
way
West
that
Coast.
no one, after we left, has any information of what is going on there. In or out.
Forgive me, are you referring to the West Coast or Lawrence?
Lawrence.
Well, we should keep Lawrence in the back of our minds, but I think it better if we shake the dust from our feet as far as that podunk town goes. We are on the verge of something much larger. This gem of the Midwest, as it were. I truly believe that we can carve out our own place here. It just needs some precise poking.
Kick out a leg, table falls, am I right?
Precisely. If you wouldn't mind, I have a little bit of a scheme I'd like to give a shot with. Just watch my back.
Oh, certainly. All eyes on this.
Storyteller,
Yes.
I would like to look around, and while we do know that a bunch of children were just liquefied, might there be someone around that looks maybe a little younger, maybe a little more malleable?
Yes, go ahead and give me a. Let's make it a wits plus insight check.
And insight. Oh, I forgot. I'm super hungry right now.
Oh yes, that's right.
Oh boy.
Just go to the refreshment table afterwards. We'll get you.
I can't.
You can't. Oh, that's right. You fancy.
That's the thing about Venture. Very specific palate.
Only 2 successes, but no travesties here. So,
as you're casting your eyes around, trying to get a sense for who thinks what of whom, who's low on the ladder, etc. Certainly, all of the Primogen know what they're doing. And most of those who are lower ranking have either attached themselves to a Primogen or have left. So it's essentially, actually, you do notice that Vera, the bodyguard that was put on you by the prince, is standing over by the corner where you saw Somber leave. And she's been guarding that door. She's also been exchanging glances with one of the sheriff's other hounds, who is one of those gigantic monstrosities. Basically, his bones have been turned inside out and form a kind of segmented armor around him. The two of them seem to be the lowest ranking people here that are not directly protected by a Primogen. The lowest hanging fruit. So your options are essentially them or trying to peel somebody off one of the Primogen's entourages.
Vera will do perfectly for my attempt here. Make sure I don't get knifed, please. And I will make my way towards Vera casually. They are by themselves, right?
She is by herself, yes, and she keeps looking over furtively at the doorway. She's clearly trying to appear very calm, but something is definitely worrying her. You don't even have to make a roll to tell that.
I would like to walk up to her. It appears that there's no security risks that I'm aware of.
With what happened tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if Operation First Light blasted down that door in 2 seconds, and I had to go to work. So I won't deny, it's a little frustrating that you all split up. I was supposed to be keeping an eye on all 4 of you.
Yes. We do have a tendency to be frustrating. And if she is to look at me, I would like to attempt to lock gaze and activate Forgetful Mind.
Interesting. All right. She definitely will lock eyes with you at some point. So, do you have Forgetful Mind in front of you?
I
at this
do.
moment? Excellent. Can you let me know what I have to roll to oppose you?
Yes. It is your intelligence plus resolve versus my manipulation and dominate.
Very well. Drop the die. Be sure to add your many, many, many blood dice.
Yes. Yes. They are they're all in there.
2 successes.
Four successes. One of those is a crit, not on a blood die.
All right. Only have to worry if there's double 10s. So, she locks eyes with you, and you are able to use Forgetful Mind on her.
Wonderful. Nothing too overt, but I would just like to rewrite her memories of the evening so that she seems to think, 1, that there was 100% werewolf activity on the river, and 2, that her keeper, Mr. Crowley, was the one orchestrating it. And she saw him with her very own eyes.
Interesting. This is not a typical use of the Forgetful Mind, so I am going to let you do it. However, there is going to be a price.
Okay.
I'm going to need a rouse check.
Wonderful.
So you are overexerting your blood with this.
I succeeded.
All right. To say that the beast is in check is perhaps too much to say. However,
I apologize.
it does not
cost
assert
a rouse check to do the ability in the first place. So
then you're going to need a second
another
rouse check.
I succeeded with that one as well.
So the beast does not assert itself overtly, but you can hear it in the back of your mind. It says, scheming's all well and good, but if you don't feed soon, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. There's people all over this fucking city who are losing bets. And I can just go up to someone and ask them, hey, I bet you that I can knock you on your ass and drain the blood from your body. And I don't really care what they say back. I'm pretty sure it'll go down pretty smoothly.
Yes. Thank you for your vigilance, Ms. Vera. I believe I have a bit of a headache coming on. I should probably get back to my boat.
Yes, I should probably report back to the sheriff anyway.
Yes.
She'll head in the direction of Von Rysel. I think with that, the sun will rise. All of you will enter the day sleep, and we will take a short break. So, we will see you all again in just a moment. Thank you once again to all of our sponsors, and be sure to check out the links in the chat while we're on break. See you all in a moment.
Producer Nick here. Thank you for watching Bleeding Kansas. Please stay tuned for a special preview of our upcoming sequel to Rites on the Holy Mountain, Cyborg. If you want to check out the source material, you can head to DriveThruRPG to pick up Bleeding Kansas from our very own Storyteller Kyran. Link in the description below. If you're enjoying this program today, consider subscribing to Gehenna Gaming to get up to date with all our latest actual play series.
As we return for our break, just want to give a quick reminder about our content warning. This is a game that is intended for an adult audience, and be sure to take a break if anything we get into is too intense. At this point, we've ripped out quite a few bones, so if that's something that you're not into, next episode might be the best option for you. Although, just to give you all a quick peek behind the camera, Somber and Gideon have christened themselves Bone Buddies. Which I believe is something we will have to maintain throughout the rest of this excellent campaign. So, here we go. Oh, having a bit of a technical difficulty. Let's see here. I'm going to redo the intro. Because Vin can't hear.
You can hear now.
Yes, I'm good. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
What happened?
Oh, you can hear? Oh, great.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great. Going through again. Welcome back. Glad to have you back after our short break. Quick reminder about our content warning. This is a game that is meant for an adult audience, and if anything becomes too much for you, be sure to take a step back. If you're not a fan of bones being ripped out of people's bodies, I think it's safe to say we've already lost you. But we have the newly christened Bone Buddies with Gideon and Somber here. So I think it's safe to say that we'll be continuing with those themes. So, the sun sets, the moon rises. It took several sessions for us to finally complete that one very long night. But here we are. As you all awaken, you're going to all need to make a rouse check. Oh dear.
You're hungrier. What?
So also should be noted, Luther, that if you want to heal any of your aggravated damage, and anyone else who has aggravated damage, you should take note here too. You can do that at the beginning of the night, but you have to make 3 rouse checks to heal 1 point of aggravated damage.
Oh my god.
Is there a max hunger?
Yeah.
5.
I'm there.
Oh.
Yep. So this is really just icing on the cake at this point. If you want to keep making rouse checks, you're going to be at if you get hungrier, you're going to be at a higher than max level hunger when you wake up.
I think I would like to try and eat someone.
Okay. So you open your eyes, all of you. Life is returned to your bodies after a state of complete motionlessness throughout most of the day. Most of you open your eyes, and the beast is present but under control. Luther, when you open your eyes, it's like the worst hangover you've ever had times 10 crashing down on you. It feels like knives are pressing into your back, and it is taking... You don't think you'll be able to take more than a few steps before you succumb to the beast. And perhaps a blessing, perhaps not. There's somebody waiting on the outside of your coffin when it opens. Wheeler is standing above you, standing at attention like she's ready to give a report.
What?
She takes a step back, sir, and she says, sir, there was some highly irregular activity on board the ship that I feel it's my duty to report to you as soon as possible.
Yes, I am well aware that there was a hole ripped in the side of the ship and we had an intrusion. I was
something
there.
else, sir. It's something else. I was going to wait, but Gideon has continued to step over the line, and I feel like I can't be silent about this any longer.
I'm gonna stand up abruptly and grab Wheeler by her lapels and draw her right up next to me. Get me something to eat before you bother me with these inane details.
Of course, sir. Of course. She races out the door. It's the longest 3 minutes of your life. In fact, I'm going to need you to give me a willpower roll to keep the beast in check for long enough for her to get something for you.
Great. Two successes.
All right. One of the security guards is dragged in, looking extremely confused. Wheeler, perhaps channeling the blood that you have given her already, backs him up against the wall, pulls out a coin, and flips it, slams it down on top of your dresser, and she snarls at him, "Call it." Ma'am, I don't know. Call it! Heads! She raises her palm. It's tails. Takes a step aside. All yours, sir.
Luther will lunge across the room and slam this poor hapless soul back against the wall and sink my fangs deep into his neck.
All right. Drinking, if you could give a flavor to Schadenfreude, this would be it. This is what you feed on. People losing, experiencing people putting themselves out there and failing utterly. This might be a very small loophole that you've threaded, but it counts nonetheless. And as the blood pours into you, you feel yourself getting stronger. You for a moment don't feel the horrible wounds that werewolf put on you. And you're reminded once again just how utterly pathetic the creatures that you feed on are, and how easy it would be to drain this man completely so that his pathetic little life would no longer have to bother you every waking moment, knowing that he's walking around there doing such insignificant things for such insignificant purposes. Do you want to finish him?
If I'm able to stop, then I will.
Willpower roll.
3 successes.
Could have gone either way, but you stop yourself once you've reduced yourself down to 1. He is lying there with a look of absolute ecstasy on his face and kind of slumps down against the wall. And he says, "Happy to be of service, sir."
I'm going to look him right in the eye and just say, "Forget," and activate cloud memory.
Okay. On a mortal, it doesn't require anything.
Wheeler,
So he does.
He was injured last night. Please take him to the infirmary.
Of course, sir. Can I return to give my report afterwards?
Yes, I apologize for my behavior. That was not very becoming of me.
There's no need to apologize, sir. Everybody on this boat lives to serve you. Especially me. She helps the man to his feet and walks away. He's sent to the ship's nurse, and she returns, standing at attention.
Now, what was this unusual activity involving Gideon?
She says, something was loaded onto our ship at the Lawrence docks, sir. Specially requested by a thin blood who called himself Oliver. From what I could tell, it was the torpid body of an elder kindred. I hadn't seen them before personally because I don't tend to lead the ship. But they were of the Nosferatu clan and their curse was significantly advanced. Gideon implied that if I shared this information, there would be consequences. And I'm ashamed to say, sir, that the force of their personality did something to the usual loyalty that I assure you is always present in my veins. You know that I can't lie to you. You know that I would never want to lie to you. Sorry. Anyway, they returned last night, along with another elder Nosferatu and their entourage. No less than 20 different Nosferatu visited this vessel to ensure that the package was extracted and carried away safely. This obviously was a bridge too far, and I felt I had to report this to you, and I am so sorry that I didn't say something earlier.
Wheeler, let me get this straight. Just so I make sure that I have all the details correct.
Yes, sir.
You allowed an unverified package to be delivered to my boat as we leave Lawrence on the cusp of us gaining a foothold in Kansas City, and you did not find that that was worthy of note. Beyond that, you knew that it contained the torpid remains of an elder, and you didn't think that that was worthy of note?
I didn't know what it contained when it was loaded on, sir. The person specifically requested Gideon, and it was my understanding that they had full clearance to have the run of the ship. Of course, when I realized what was in there later, I felt that it was my responsibility to report it to you, but I thought that maintaining that secret could prove sufficient leverage to convince Gideon to leave on their own accord. I haven't made it a secret before, sir, that I think it's a liability having them on the ship, and so I believe that by maintaining that secret and holding it over them, I was, in a certain way of looking at it, in a certain point of view, serving your interests by removing them. I can now obviously see that that was an incredibly flawed reasoning, and I can only tell you that I'm sorry and that it won't happen again.
Wheeler, how many times have I made it clear that I trust Gideon? And how many times have I made it very clear that I do not want Gideon leaving? Regardless what you think in your tiny little brain, there is leverage to be drawn there. Gideon is a member of my coterie and therefore under my protection. So, continuing the details, not only did you go against my previous wishes, you attempted to extract leverage on a member of my coterie under my roof.
Yes, sir. Looking out for your best interests is the only thing I know how to do. Ever since I've tasted your blood, it's the only thing I've ever thought of doing. And I was just trying to carry out my function.
Wheeler. I know you would never do anything to harm me. right, Wheeler?
Of course.
And you'll never pull any stunt like this again, will you, Wheeler?
No, of course not.
Never, ever, would you?
No, 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 no.
You wouldn't dare cross me again.
No, I'm incapable of it. You know that, sir.
No, absolutely not. Well, I'm glad that we have that under control.
Yes, yes, of course, sir. Yes, thank you.
Could you please, Storyteller,
Yes.
who's the second in command of the security team here?
Watson.
Could you please go grab Watson and bring him back here?
Yes, of course, sir. And she'll rush out in the best approximation of a military gait that she can muster.
As soon as she leaves, I'm going to pick up the phone on my desk and call up Somber M and Gideon.
All right. There are landlines in each one of your various spots along the ship. It rings, and just as you are all waking up.
Somber doesn't answer, but they know that means that Luther wants to talk to them.
Is that M?
M's gonna go straight there, just because she saw the state that Luther was left in for the evening and wants to see, see what's up.
All right. Gideon?
Gideon answers, of course.
All right. You hear Gideon's voice on the end of the line.
Gideon, I apologize for ringing at such an hour, but it is most imperative that you join me in my cabin for just a clarification meeting with the rest of the coterie.
Of course. And they hang up.
All right. You all gather in the office. Is there anything you wish to say to them before Wheeler returns?
Nope.
All right. Wheeler
Somber,
comes back.
Somber on their way still has that rib bone from the guy from the lab, and they're kind of like down the hallway, like towards Luther's office, playing it like it's a trumpet and like making fake sounds with the rib bone. They seem to be in a very good mood this morning.
All right. The security guards and the other members of the staff look at you. They know better than to look for too long. But this is odd even for you, so you get a few sideline glances. When you all gather in the room, Wheeler returns with Watson. He's a fairly short, nondescript man. In his later years, maybe his early 60s, but he's still muscular, well put together, and he's got extremely perceptive eyes. You picked him up from a risk management firm that also provided security services. And he takes in everything that's going on and gives a respectful nod to you and Wheeler and said, I was told you wanted to see me, sir.
Yes, please have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Certainly.
Sweet. Settles down on the chair. Wheeler remains ramrod straight, parade ground stance.
God, Luther, you look in a mood.
Yes.
Did Wheeler bring you breakfast this morning?
I was fed, yes, thank you. It might not have been the most satisfying meal, but my stomach is under control.
Why do we have the mortals here anyway? Are we gonna eat them?
Oh, all in due time. We had an incident last evening.
Which one?
Beyond the court, it seems.
Oh, beyond the holes in the boat.
Yes, in addition to, thank you. Gideon.
Yes, sir.
You know you have my trust. Do I have yours?
For the moment, yes.
And how did your illicit activities end last evening?
It depends on your definition of illicit.
Let's not be coy in this situation, my dear friend. It appears that you were privy to some knowledge of a very dangerous individual brought upon our ship. And in the course of doing what you have been doing, and again, I iterate, I trust you. I trust that none of the actions that you have taken would lead this coterie to danger, and that you are generally looking out for the well-being of us, and yourself, of course. Am I mistaken in that assumption?
Not at all. And actually, I would like to clarify. I did our coterie a favor. In fact, a major boon from the Nosferatu Primogen.
I didn't doubt you for a moment, Gideon. I do, however, have an outstanding issue in which a member of our extended family, and he's going to look pointedly at Wheeler, disobeyed orders and attempted to extract information or authority over a member of this coterie. Does that sound accurate, Gideon?
To the letter.
I see. This pains me greatly. Because while I trust each and every member of my coterie, I thought I also trusted the members of my security team. Watson, you would never attempt to step out of line and attempt to influence one of us, would you?
Quick storyteller question. Has Watson also had your blood, as Wheeler has?
No.
Okay, so he's not Gould. He maintains a respectful, upright posture, and he says, "My specialty is risk assessment and management, sir. And if there is one thing that I've learned while being in your employ, the riskiest thing I could ever undertake would be to try to undercut you or anyone who's earned your trust."
Wonderfully well answered. Somber. Gideon.
Yes.
Wheeler is no longer under my employ, and I believe the corpse needs disposed of.
Sir, please. She drops to her knees. I have only ever tried to serve you. Please.
That's so sad, isn't it,
That's tragic.
You know, I
Exactly.
learned a cool thing last night. Does anyone else want one of these? They wave the rib around.
I think there's one. She'll point at with right there. What do you think?
She's not trying to run. She just crawls on her hands and knees towards you, Luther. She says, I have only ever tried to serve you. I swear it won't happen again.
Somber kills her.
Well, you're right about that.
I
While
really do
Somber goes
hate it when
about-
they whine.
Yes. While Somber goes about their business, I'm going to walk around the desk, ignoring everything else that's happening, pick up Watson and take him over to a bookshelf and begin speaking in low tones to him while Somber and Im and Gideon have their fun.
All right. It's a bloodbath. Gideon and M, are you partaking in this?
Yes, you know what? It's I've woken up. Arm is feeling good. Why not? I hate Wheeler, so this is great.
I think it's actually surprisingly disinterested in her. I think they just kind of like in that moment like put their like foot back on her spine and just cracked it. Just because it seems more like they were annoyed by the noise. And they're kind of like looking down at her like, I really don't understand mortals, but that one's for you, Em.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Is it-
Well,
No, nothing.
as this
Oh, my
bloodbath plays out, we're reminded that this is a game about monsters. and monstrous behavior is to be expected at every turn. So, Watson, you're able to pick him up effortlessly. You have a degree of kindred strength, just as everyone does. As you lay him down, sit him down there, he is staring directly at you, doing his best not to look at what's happening to his former boss.
Watson, how would you
Sir.
like a promotion?
I think I'd like it very much indeed, sir.
Just to reiterate, you would never attempt to cross me, right?
Of course not, sir. I've been hoping to be inducted into the advanced employee healthcare plan for some time. I'm getting on there in years, you see, and it'd be nice not to have to spend so much time at the gym to maintain things.
Wonderful. I would love nothing more than to enroll you in our advanced healthcare plan. I just want to remind you, not that I really need to hammer the point home, but I treat my family very well, and the rewards are ample. But I also treat my enemies very well, if you understand what I mean.
One of Wheeler's ears slaps against the door and just kind of slowly slides back down to the floor. I think I understand very well, sir.
I'm glad we're on the same page. And with that, I'll bite my own wrist and offer it up to him.
He takes it extremely eagerly. And as he sucks it down, you know that he will never disobey you again, as long as this keeps coming. He stands a little bit straighter as he stands up from where he is sitting. You feel his fists tightening as the new strength makes its way into his muscles. And when he opens his eyes, they are far more aware than they were a moment ago. He, taking advantage of his newly rejuvenated body, he stands ramrod straight and gives you a salute. And he says, "Ready to receive orders, sir."
Please proceed to the head office and make it your own. See to the schedule. Just let the other staff know that Wheeler was let go.
Of course, sir. He looks down at Wheeler's hand, which is about a foot away from his own toe. And he says, "She clearly lost her grip on things." And then he will turn and make his way out towards the exit.
Never mind, I changed my mind. Get back here. Just look.
Well, so that particular business is concluded.
I apologize for the rude awakening, as it were, but that needed to be handled. Now, how did everyone?
No, I do like brunch.
Never change, Somber.
Wouldn't dream of it.
How did your evening go, Somber? I see that you have
Oh?
a new accoutrement.
I know. People just love lavishing me in gifts everywhere I go. They also love lavishing me in intricate invitations to the other side of the river.
Ooh, interesting.
It seems our
You
dear
don't
friends.
say.
Isn't it interesting? I've received not one, but 2 dates to go over there. And I'm thinking that fate is calling me. Besides, I'm a little curious, aren't you?
Yes. And
It
if you don't
depends.
mind telling us, who are these people on the dates?
Oh, I never kiss and tell. But if you must know, it was Isabel. She's quite
Oh,
charming
really?
and rather wicked.
Undoubtedly. What business would be on the other side?
The business of the truth, I assume. Or whatever the fuck is going on over there.
I did mention a boon. I was given a major and a minor boon for Tobias and Oliver, who I kept in my luggage for the night.
Oh, so he was here.
Yes, very quietly.
And you didn't even
But
offer
as
me
a-
a bite, Gideon.
You have plenty of bites as far as I'm concerned.
I always have more.
Of course you can. But I've used a minor boon for information on our primogen, Luther. It seems that he and the Tremere and the representative for the Lasombra have been going across the river at peculiar times.
To the other side of Kansas City.
Yes,
All three.
in different increments that do fit together.
A
And this
triad,
is
almost
the
as odd as we are.
individual that requested that you come across the river, Somber?
Yes, indeed. Well, that was only part of the deal. The other part was, of course, that I speak about it at court next time it's held.
Oh. Well. Does this stink of a setup to anyone else?
Of course it was. That's why I took the deal.
If you're not being set up, you're not doing things correctly.
Well, obviously we've stepped on some toes somewhere, but this might just play perfectly into a little bit of a time bomb that I set last night. It appears that our lovely Primogen has not been completely guilt-free in this situation. And in fact, his hound just happened to see him involved in some illicit activity involving some lichen.
Ooh,
How
that is good.
dastardly, Luther.
I have a few set of skills, and I like to use them like a dagger.
And I think Somber kind of pokes Luther in the shoulder with the rib bone. Or like a rib.
Would anyone like to propose a course of action? I'm not sure it would be wise for us to be seen entering the other side of Kansas when we have only just arrived here. But as of now, I do not see a clear course forward.
Like I said, that was only one of 2 dates that I was offered. The second was, of course, to meet with our good mutual friend, Luther, Jessica.
Oh,
On invitation, I don't really think we could leave her hanging, could we? We have to go over.
well, that is interesting. That does open the door for us to, I mean, you couldn't be sent over there alone with all of the wild accusations going.
Well, certainly not, I couldn't. And if I did wander off on my own, who would come to get me? Other than my
Certainly.
dear coterie.
Of course, we are here to watch each other's backs, of course. What say you, Gideon? M?
By all means, we are coterie after all.
Yes, and getting more information would be nice. And you know, with us being new, we don't exactly know the boundaries like they're natural. So if we pass by one, Oh,
Oops.
All an innocent mistake. Just going out to
we
see a
won't do
dear
that again.
friend.
Of course.
Perhaps it would be wise to send a message to the powers that be on this side, just to let them know that we're not up to anything suspicious. We are simply going to meet a friend at their invitation. But perhaps that message arrives after we've already crossed.
Got lost in the mail. It happens.
Traffic is
So
killer.
unreliable.
Absolutely devious.
Well then, shall we?
All right then.
I would like to try and heal one more point of damage before we, do this.
Unfortunately, you only get one per night.
Oh no.
I haven't done one yet.
You did. Oh yes, that's right. You haven't done that yet. My apologies. I got mixed up. All right, that'll be 3 rouse checks.
I mean, you can have a little. You can have
I
a
succeeded
little
on
bit
2.
of. There's a little bit of wheel if you want to.
All right. Then your hunger only goes up by 1.
Okay. Well,
The beast raises its head and says, "A fucking coin flip? A coin flip? Not even a bust on blackjack or a bad roulette? You gave me a coin flip? Why do you might as well give me some saltines and orange juice. What the hell?
And Wheeler has been dealt with.
Yeah, and you didn't take a single drop. What the fuck was that? She had your blood in her. It was ours by right, and you just let those mongrels drink it.
She was tainted with failure.
Listen, if you wake me up again for anything less than a bad hold'em hand, I'm gonna start wrecking shit in here, and I hope you know that.
Right.
Headache, Luther.
Oh, just a trifle. An old friend, old memories coming to surface.
Interesting how Kansas seems to do that to all of us.
I would like to check on operations, make sure Watson has everything in hand before we depart.
You think that Watson has probably had this promotion in mind for some time, and he slid into his role fairly quickly. He's already chosen his new number 2. He's made a few updates to the call signs and codes. Everyone seems to be getting with the program.
I would like to ask him to have a messenger, a physical runner, take a written note to Hector. Presumably, I would know where to find him.
Yes, you can give him where Hector has told you he can best be reached. Watson says, "I will absolutely take care of it, sir. Do we want to send someone that we are invested in seeing come back, or should I send one of the new recruits?"
It's better to send a new recruit. I'm not sure exactly how this message will be received.
Of course, sir. I'll take care of it. And might I say how impeccable your mustache looks tonight.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Got me this far. And he will set to work. So, crossing into Kansas City, Kansas, is a little bit more complicated than it normally would be. It takes a little longer. You lose precious hours of moonlight making your way through police checkpoints. But you have money, and Outwardly, there doesn't seem to be anything inherently suspicious about your group, so you're allowed through. There's a very big police presence on this side of the river, and you can see why. There is a massive protest going on just along the banks of the river. A lot of people holding up signs saying, where are the investigations? Where are the arrests? Why are you letting us die? If this had happened in Missouri, we'd have an arrest by now, things like that. People are chanting and raging. The police are looking on. But clearly the mortals are not happy. And actually, M, you recognize one of the mortals. One of your touchstones, in fact, Theo Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
They're active in your band occasionally, and even more active in the various activism causes that you're involved in. And they seem to be leading a chant that a bunch of people are screaming at the top of their lungs, while police helicopters are looking on.
I like this side. They're singing my song here.
Yes, it does feel familiar, doesn't it?
Just feel the blood pumping here with unrest, right?
This does seem to be your crowd, M.
Yes, and if we do get caught, I would be here naturally. So, also if you need anything to be set off, I have some inside connections with it. And I would like nothing better than have something happen here tonight.
Well, with our luck, I'm sure something will.
I mean, they're right. I mean, nothing's going to happen unless they push a little bit, and I would like nothing better than push.
Are you trying to travel incognito, M, or are you being open about your identity and that you're here?
I mean, if you want open.
All right. You've got enough of a reputation among the mortals on this side of the river that you attract attention almost immediately. People are clapping on the back, saying, "We're really glad you're here. This is all bullshit. The only times we need the police to do something, they're not bothering." And they're just kind of they're pushing you towards the center of things. And it's not too long before Theo makes his way over to you. I actually have to check. Is Theo a he?
She.
I don't have she. All right. She makes her way over to you. My apologies. And she says, "It took you long enough."
Yes. I will give her a kiss.
All right. People give a whoop and a cheer when they see the two of you coming together. And she says, "Well, that's a good way to welcome you over to this side."
It's been a long, absolutely dreadful long night, and this it's good to see this many people out. I mean, considering I think it is well warranted, right?
She says, "Well, we had a bunch more, but they kind of peeled off to go to this protest concert on the other side of the city." It's all bullshit.
Same thing, or is it a? Are we doing two things at the same time when we should be doing one?
Pretty much. We didn't coordinate with those guys. They just kind of rolled in, started handing out flyers, and people went to them like moths to a candle. Wasn't even clear what they were protesting. They just said, "Come by, listen to the music, stick it to the man," all that bullshit.
We'll tell them to get back over here because we have things to do over here, and if we want to do something, we have to have enough people to do it with.
I've tried, but they couldn't be reasoned with. Even Eden went with them.
Get me on the phone with them.
Sure. She pulls out a phone. You are all present for this, so you all hear what they're saying. And She punches in, and she you see it light up on the screen, Eden Breckenridge. She's doing her best to make the connection, but it goes to voicemail. Haven't been able to get a hold of her since she went over there.
We'll find someone that can, because down low, there are things happening on the other side, authority stuff, and I would hate for them to be picked up for no reason. You know how they are.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. She's reckless. You can never really predict what she's going to do. But I mean, I thought that she would at least be able to see through this kind of bullshit. I mean, they were obviously just a bunch of self-important college kids who wanted to make a big stink without actually understanding what it is we're protesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know what that's like. So, I mean, they are new, a bunch of them. So well, I understand. I wasn't particularly good at this stuff when I was started either, so I have to keep a better eye on them next time, but be prepared.
Sorry, go ahead.
This seems like something that will just take a little push, so I've been at these things. I know how to. It's a good time, so I'll give you a call. I'll be back here, and we start something. Because something has to happen. If it's not going to be there, it's going to be here.
I get it. All right. And she'll turn around and get back.
I'll grab her shoulder a little bit. Like, I'm sorry. This is just, it's a lot of things happening, and just want things to go well with this whole thing. We have a good opportunity here, so I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. Also, she'll take out the card. Got a good place for the club.
Sweet. She'll pocket it, and she'll say, "Look into it."
And I'll give her a kiss again, and just like, I will see you later.
All right. She is enthusiastic about both of those things, and she'll return to her rabble rousing.
Okay, sorry about that, but had to, if we need a distraction of any kind, it's waiting. Just have this phone. And I have an alibi.
It is. Why do you keep that little mortal around, Em?
It's good too. I do have a certain nostalgia about certain things.
Nostalgia.
Reminds me of home.
I think it's rather sweet. But you do seem rather soft-hearted.
Certain things.
I thought so. And Somber slings an arm over Gideon's shoulders and is like, "They cheered when M came by. Perhaps we should give it a try."
He just shakes his head no.
"One of these days, Gideon, you'll realize how cute I am."
Just not tonight.
Luther, what are you up to as the three of them are trading barbs?
Luther feels very much in a situation where he might be submitted to the Eat the Rich crowd, dressed as he is walking through the area. So he's standing back just a little bit. And is being oddly quiet about this entire transfer.
I think M's gonna go up to Luther and say, "All right, I'm done. I know this isn't necessarily your crowd, so we're good. You don't have to be so sorry." God, you woke up in such a bad mood. I mean, I thought you did eat, right?
I did.
I could have saved a little bit of Wheeler if you were still hungry, of course.
Who was that you were calling?
bunch of new kids that fell in with us. They're in it for I think they're more in it for the feeling of rebellion than they are actually about doing it. They were supposed to be here. And I guess there was a counter protest on our side with some music and went over there. Why do you care?
Oh, I'm just trying to keep track of all of our pawns, as it were. All the players in the game.
Well, assuming if we give us time, I can get them in shape and they can do stuff for us. I mean, some stuff during the day. It's good to have that sort of help around.
Oh, I don't know if that's the wise course of action in this instance.
Why? Why? You get all the fun with bossing around people.
Oh, by all means. Feel free to, foster your own tribe, as it were, but perhaps now is not the best time to be incurring mortals that might have debts attached to them. Perhaps we should just play it straight for the time being until we can get the lay of the land.
Personally, that's not really my vibe. Straight.
Neither is mine, but you know what? We just got here. Courtesy of the boat. Won't burn it down right away.
Yes, and maybe if these children want to go to a concert, you just let them stay out of it tonight.
As you say that, somebody hands you a flyer and says, "Hey man, Clay Eaters are playing on the other side of the city. You should check them out." And when you look down at the flyer, you see that there is a symbol that you recognize printed on it.
Me, who's never played Vampire the Masquerade. What the hell is that?
I think I think if M sees it, we're both. I think she is also going to have that look of like.
And I think with that, we are going to draw today's session to a close. So, thank you very much to our fantastic audience. Thank you very much to this spectacular cast, to all our subscribers and patrons. And if you want to learn more about what we do here at Gehenna Gaming, feel free to join our Discord or visit us at gehennagaming.com. And we'll see you all next week to see how the coterie deals with this next little wrinkle. Bye-bye.